I am Brandon Czubachowski. I get the joy of directing this wonderful group of musicians. And we're going to start our concert out tonight with Won't You Be My Neighbor. If you know grew up with Mr. Rogers, before every episode of the classic television series, he, from 1968 to 2001, wrote his song, Won't You Be My Neighbor. And Fred Rogers wrote, shockingly, something like more than 200 songs for his television show, which ran 895 episodes and 31 seasons. Now, he had a child psychologist that helped him with lyrics. He had another composer that helped him with the music. And so everything he did was what he felt was of a high quality. And so this is one of his songs as arranged by Mike Tomaro, and it is Won't You Be My Neighbor, but with a little slight spin behind it. I don't know why I leave that on the stand. I should just grab it, pick it up, and go instead of walking up to it. But anyways, our next piece has a vocal soloist. A little bit about the piece. It was originally called Le Mer, and it was a French piece. It was just called The Sea. It's pretty simple. Well, somebody said, well, that's just not good enough. Let's put a word in front of that. So they put beyond in front of it, and it became Beyond the Sea, which then became a love song. Just adding one word to it, and that's all they did. And so it was originally like a sea shanty, like about the sea. And then they added beyond to it, and became Beyond the Sea, and a love song. The person singing this tonight is going to be a sophomore next year here, right? Yes. Okay. Colton Schafer, he's from Princeton. He studies here voice with Jenny Lynn Rother, who's one of our voice teachers as well. And you're also going to hear him later on a saxophone, because he does both well. And so we're going to feature him on this song as a student here at IVCC. So let's give him a nice warm welcome. This is Colton Schafer singing Beyond the Sea.
Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me, my lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships that go sailing. Somewhere beyond the sea, she's there watching for me. If I could fly like birds on high, then straight to her arms I'll go sailing. It's far beyond a star, it's near beyond the moon. I know beyond a doubt my heart will lead me there soon. We'll meet beyond the shore, we'll kiss just as before. Happy we'll be beyond the sea, and never again I'll go sailing. It's far beyond a star, it's near beyond the moon. I know beyond a doubt my heart will lead me there soon. We'll meet beyond the shore, we'll kiss just as before. Happy we'll be beyond the sea, and never again I'll go sailing. No more sailing, I found my love beyond the sea.
The Neighbor from Naylor is next year's Illinois Music Educators Association state audition piece. And every year I try and put that in our last concert. And it's kind of odd that it's a different composer than we've used for many years. And there's a reason for it. But the composer this year for the state of Illinois was Bryan Carter. And shortly after completing his training at Juilliard in New York City, and still at the early outset of his career, he had already played and or recorded with many notable artists, including Clark Terry, Wynton Marsalis, Kenny Barron, Michael Feinstein, and Kurt Elling. Carter attended the Juilliard School as a jazz studies major and studied with Carl Allen and Kenny Washington. He was the recipient of one of their most prestigious awards, the Irene Diamond Scholarship, as well as the Samuel L. Jackson Scholarship while there. He also took a strong interest in composition, orchestration, and interdivisional cross-collaborative performancing. Bryan is currently touring across the world with his band called the Swangers. It's a diverse semi-acoustic band built on the foundation of brash eclecticism, as well as expanded concert-driven ideas. He serves as the house drummer for NBC's Maya and Marty, starring Maya Rudolph. And the show has featured guests including Miley Cyrus, Nick Jonas, Tom Hanks, and many others. He is also the drummer for a beloved television show series, which you would have never probably guessed this, the Sesame Street drummer. He most recently served as the associate orchestrator for the Pulitzer Prize-winning musical, A Strange Loop, and he's the co-orchestrating writer for Some Like It Hot, the new musical. This year's IMEA piece is called The Neighbor from Naylor, and will be the audition that you're going to hear probably many, many students play all over Illinois over and over and over again till their little heart's content, and then go on audition and then see if they make state. So here you go. Here's the IMEA piece. microphone. Always do that, just habit, because you never know where you'll carry the microphone when you walk off the stage. And I've worked many venues where, I just carry my microphone off stage, and then they go to the bathroom. And their microphone's on. Oh, that's a dangerous situation. So anyways, you never know what's going to happen anytime that you're here. And sometimes you just say, hey, drummer, you have a solo here. Harry, go for it. And he just goes, and he says, I'll make it short, no problem. Or make it longer, and that's fine. And then you're just kind of like watching him, and then he just stops, looks at you, and goes, so, the band going to play? Okay, here's the last chord. There you go. And that's what the fun is sometimes, you know. You never know what's going to happen, and that's what makes it unique with jazz. Our next piece, before we go into the jazz combo here, is called My Buddy. And some people know this as like a military tribute, kind of a remembrance. But here's what the words are. Nights are long since you went away. I think about you all through the day. My buddy, my buddy. Nobody's quite so true. Miss your face or your voice, the touch of your hand, just long to know that you understand. My buddy, my buddy. Your buddy misses you. This is My Buddy, but the jazz waltz version, so a little bit different, but still very recognizable and just a nice arrangement. So here is My Buddy. We're going to do a little switch over here. We're going to have our jazz combo. If you don't know, one of the people added to our faculty out here was our sax instructor, Mr. Patrick Wilson. And he's played with our jazz band on and off through the years. And he said, hey, I really miss teaching. And I really want to do some tutoring. I want to really do something. Is there something I could do? And I said, well, what would really help me out is a jazz combo or something before. And that's kind of what he volunteered to kind of at the beginning, like to help people with improvisation, just like a tutoring thing. And it turned into a jazz combo. So we've started incorporating that into what we're doing here, and with him being the sax instructor, it really, really ties in some of what he does in his lessons. And so this is Mr. Patrick Wilson, our sax instructor, first year. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is, joining us. The gentleman in purple. I thought he was still right there. He moved on me. He's now over there. I don't know. He's behind me in purple. Here he is, wandering about. So this is Mr. Patrick Wilson in the IVCC Jazz Combo.
Good evening. So, real quickly, just want to kind of give you a little bit of context to the tune that we're going to play. In the mid-1930s, musicians in the Kansas City area, of all places, were experimenting with different techniques for playing jazz music. They would create ultimately what would be called bebop. It started in Kansas City and then kind of matriculated to New York and burst onto the scene and really became popular in the early to mid-1940s. Bebop is characterized by fast, complex chord changes, more chords, and the musicians that practiced that music, it was kind of a badge of honor to be able to play faster, higher, and louder than the other musicians that were in the club at the time. Some of the musicians, if you're a fan of jazz music, some musicians, when you hear their name, you automatically associate them with a specific style of music. For instance, bebop. Charlie Parker is a name that a lot of saxophone players or a lot of music fans in general will associate with the bebop movement. He was one of the originators, and he was one of those that started it in Kansas City and brought it to New York with him. There are other names, however, that when you say them, you can't necessarily put them into a specific category. And one of those specific individuals was a trumpet player by the name of Miles Davis. Now, surprisingly enough, Miles came onto the scene in New York in the mid-40s. He was there for the beginnings of bebop and was playing in the clubs and playing that style of music. But he never stayed in one specific style of music. He was... people called him a maverick, but he was very much an innovator. He was always looking for the next innovation in terms of music. So he started with bebop, but then he helped introduce what was known as cool jazz in the early 1950s, and then he also gravitated towards modal jazz. Modal jazz became popular. He didn't originate it, but he did popularize it. It became popular in the mid-1950s. It was kind of the antithesis of bebop, where bebop was fast and complex and higher, faster, louder. Modal jazz kind of stripped all the complexity away. It made it simpler, simpler chords, fewer chords, and the emphasis became more on the actual melody and the scales used to create those melodies. So one of the most popular selling albums to come out of the modal jazz era was an album from Miles Davis called Kind of Blue. And the first track of that album was a tune called So What, and that's what we're going to play for you tonight. A couple of things that are going to make this a little bit different. Like the recording, the main melody is actually in our bass voice, so he's going to be kind of the star at the beginning. And if you're familiar with the album at all, you'll know that it was a swing album. But we're going to actually do it with more of a Latin feel tonight. So this is our rendition of Miles Davis's So What.
So our next piece is a piece from the Gordon Goodwin Band. If you're at all familiar with jazz, it's one of the premier jazz orchestras, jazz bands, whatever you want to label them as within the United States. And they've created many great works. This one is the first in a series. And the inspiration for these comes from Gordon Goodwin is making an homage to Carl Stalling, who is famous for composing the music to the Bugs Bunny movies and cartoons. So he wrote one, he really liked it. He wrote a second one. He wrote a third one. And he wrote a fourth one. There are like 4 movements to this. We're not playing all 4, okay? But we are playing the first one. And you're going to see some changes in the instrumentation. So normally we have 2 altos, 2 tenors, and a Perri sax within the jazz ensemble. Well, we decided to shrink one in the wash, and we got a soprano sax, the cute little silver thing over there. And so we have a soprano sax, we have an alto sax, we have 2 tenor saxes, and a Perri sax. Now, the spin on this, however, is that Gordon Goodwin has a sense of humor. And he said, well, if it's a jazz band, I'm going to make them play classical-like. Really? Okay, sure, why not? So you're going to hear what his inspiration towards Bugs Bunny with a kind of classical, I'm sure you've seen some of those, you know, Night at the Opera with Bugs Bunny and those classic cartoons. This is his spin on Bugs Bunny being with a big band, both classical, and then we go to jazz. So here is Hunting Wabbits. Could you imagine yourself hunting wabbits with that one? Or Bugs Bunny infused jazz, whichever way you want to look at it. It's a fun little piece, and I'm sure we're going to have to mop up the floor from the saxophone just sweating that one off, because that one's a workout for them. A lot of fun, though. We worked on that one and, did it in pieces, little sections, and then put it all together, and that's what you get. And it's a fun piece. Our next piece is called Traces. So you heard him singing earlier, and now you're going to hear him playing a tenor saxophone. He studies with Mr. Patrick Wilson as well. This is a piece called Traces, and it's going to feature Colton Schafer on tenor sax. Many bands normally play, we'll say, much more difficult music than this one sounds nor looks on paper. But when you actually play it, it's really hard. And you sit here and you go, well, why? The music looks easy. It sounds easy. It must be easy. Well, sometimes they're deceptive. What looks easy on paper and what sounds easy is what the band makes sound and look easy. And in this case, you have to play in tune to make it sound good. That's what the beauty of this piece is, and that's the challenge. This is called Traces. Unfortunately, it has come time for our last tune, but I have to do a little advertising first. So we'll go in order. This Thursday, or actually let's start with Wednesday, the guitar and piano recital is here on the same stage at 7 o'clock. Kevin Kramer and Mr. Fritz will be doing their piano recital and guitar recital with their students. So if you're interested in a wide variety of music, everything from classical to rock and roll to jazz, please come to that concert tomorrow evening. Thursday evening is our own IVCC Wind Ensemble here. You'll see some of these people playing in that, as well as myself. That is at 7 o'clock. That is under the direction of Mr. Phil Whaley, and they're doing a wide range of different pieces at that concert, everything from classical Charles Ives, and some new pieces that are out there, a little variation on the song Reveille from the Army, or Armed Services rather, and a few others. And it is May the 4th, actually. So I'm thinking that Star Wars could show up at that concert. If you don't know what that is, May the 4th be with you, you know, that May the Force be with you thing. Okay, if you're not a Star Wars fan, guess what? That's okay. Come hear the music. It's kind of cool. Okay? And then if you're looking for more jazz, our jazz band is playing in Streeter on May 28th on their main park stage from 2 to 4, where you'll hear kind of highlights from the year as well as highlights from this concert. So you'll hear a wide variety of probably the best pieces throughout the year that, or at least what I think are the best pieces, and they have some input as well, but I gave them the list and they kind of, no one complained, or they didn't read my email. I'm not sure which it was. Which, you know, hey, they're all college students. I expect no less sometimes, okay? But that's okay. That's what the fun of this is. Hey, did you bring your music? What music? You know that list I sent out to you? We're going to play that tonight. Okay. And then also, way in advance, in September, we are doing Jazz in the Streets. We will be doing the 4 o'clock slot on Saturday. So if you're planning way ahead and you're looking for what fun things can I do right after school starts or right before, like, it gets too cold to be outside and such, that's right at the beginning of September. I believe it's the first Saturday in September. More information will come as we have more information, but we'll be the 4 o'clock slot on Saturday of that event. So our final piece is a piece called Hayburner. And this is a piece that I played back in high school. It was one of the first jazz pieces that I soloed on way back when. And I really enjoyed it. And I remember being nervous as could be to play that solo for the first time and play my trumpet for the first time. And it's one of those nice pieces. And so I randomly bring it back just because it's one of those that has some nice solo work that's not major solo, but it's enough that it features enough people. It has a great piano solo in it, which you'll hear Mr. Mark Victor play over here. And I like to put him on the spot. You know, I was his student teacher almost, 20 years ago now. We won't talk about how long ago that was. However, back then I was his student teacher and he threw music at me. Here, you're going to do this and you're going to do that and you're going to do this. Well, guess what? Turn around is fair play. So he gets to play what I tell him to play, and we're doing Hayburner, and it features on piano Mr. Mark Victor, as well as you'll hear some sax, you'll hear some trumpet, and you'll hear some trombone, solo-esque ideas, but kind of a trio type thing. So this is Hayburner by Sammy Nestico. turned it on. Oh, there we go. Your IVCC Jazz Ensemble. We thank you for coming. You have a great evening, and travel. Be safe. We hope to see you in our future concert. Wind Ensemble, guitar, jazz in May 28th in Streeter. So have fun, enjoy yourself, travel all, be safe, and visit with the musicians afterwards if you like. Have a great evening.